Hello again. We talked about NEP as a beginning in the last episode, and this time we are going to be focusing on the content. This is the way Shikshangan likes to present the framework of the what and the how and the whether of the teaching learning cycle. What is it that the students must learn or must know, which is also known as the content? Once we are clear about that, how should I teach? Therefore, that's the pedagogy. And then once I've done that, I also do a formative assessment. And because it is a formative assessment, it's a cycle. And because it is a cycle, it gives me the opportunity to go back and see if the students are not getting it. Is there something that I need to change in my pedagogy? Is there something I need to change in the content itself? And this is the teaching and learning cycle, content, pedagogy, assessment. But this episode will focus on content. Last time we had asked you what you think is going to be content, and we were quite impressed with the amount of interaction that has happened on the video. This is the way I have understood and I have absorbed NEP 2020. In the content, they're talking about concepts, of course, which is also known as knowledge, skills, which are known as skills, and values, which are also known as attitudes. So the old KSA is panning out as concepts, skills, and values. We're aware of this framework. However, we need to see how are they marrying the old with the new, not really discarding everything which is old. So in the concepts, they are saying that all the core essentials of all the subjects will be retained. They have to be retained. Even though they say reduction of content, the core essentials will be retained. Now, here is an addition. Knowledge of Indian traditions and values is something that the National Education Policy 2020 is calling out. This is new. And then they're adding an arm of contemporary knowledge as well to keep up with the times. And what is this contemporary knowledge? Artificial intelligence and design thinking. Design thinking is nothing but problem solving, as we know, but they have called it out. So that once they call it out and once it comes in the learning standards, the schools are bound to do something about it and make sure that this learning happens. That's about the concepts. What about the skills? In the skills, as everyone knows by now, that NEP has been focusing on higher order thinking skills. We already know the higher order thinking skills as given in the Bloom's taxonomy. You remember that? Remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating. So what's more here? So NEP calls out higher order thinking skills in this way: critical thinking, creative thinking, inquiry-driven thinking, discovery-driven thinking, analysis. These are a couple of things that they mention when they say skills. Here is something interesting though. Just like they added contemporary knowledge, they have also added contemporary skills. And what are these? So one is mathematical thinking. This is a great idea. How do you think mathematically in order to solve the problems, and not just problems of math, okay? All the problems of life. They've also added computational skills in which they have put an emphasis on coding, which is why there is huge buzz about teaching children coding now, and data analysis. As you would know, data analysis, coding, computational skills, mathematical thinking, all of these go hand in hand. Those are the contemporary skills. What about the values? Here's something new. So again, every school has been having its own program of value education. Whatever you think are the right values that you need to get the children for their own moral development. Education for life is what we're liking to say. But mark this, they are talking about holistic health. Imagine in the time of the pandemic, and that's when NEP 2020 came out really, they're talking about holistic health. They're talking about organic and sustainable living. They're talking about environmental education, as well as, of course, global citizenship. How do you make your students adapting to the entire world? The whole world is one. So this is something that they are saying they would like to do in content. A couple of other ideas that are called out in NEP. They're saying that the content needs to be reduced and space should be made for thinking skills. Apart from thinking skills, as discussed in the previous slide, they're also really highlighting certain character traits like care, compassion, ethics, reason, grit, determination, resilience, bouncing back, optimism. all of that. These are the character traits they want us to develop in our children. Then there is an emphasis on multilingualism. Now, there is a lot of confusion about this. Everybody has ended up thinking that, do I need to know many languages? Do all the teachers need to know all the languages of our country? That's not the idea. What they're saying is, depending on wherever your school is located, the local language of that region, everyone must know, and you should allow a bilingual approach, even if it's an English medium school. Allow a bilingual, a multilingual approach, and we are awaiting more details on this from them when the next document comes out. Okay. They're also, of course, emphasizing for Sanskrit. As you notice in the previous episode, we talked about knowledge and Indian values and culture. So Sanskrit obviously will have some emphasis. And other classical languages also to be at par. If you want to learn other classical languages, that's also something which is mentioned. They're saying that there is absolutely no harm in doing foreign languages at whichever stage you want, but here they have emphasized it at the secondary level. Once again, vocational education is back. This was back many years ago also, when India actually thought about 10 plus 2 plus 3, But we hadn't been very successful in promoting vocational education, but now they are once again saying, give that importance. So how do you think we develop higher order thinking through the existing content? Now, why am I mentioning this? It's because we don't need to wait for the new textbooks to come. We don't need to wait for the new directives to come about how do I develop higher order thinking. We can do it with whatever we have currently. How to think with existing content? I'm giving you an example of something that we already know. Midnight of 14th August 47, Pandit Nehru delivered what is considered as the finest speech of the 20th century by any statesman. Who doesn't know this? Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time has come when we shall redeem our pledge. Not wholly or in full measure, but very substantially, he said. Tell me, how many of us have learned this by rote for elocution competitions as we were growing up as children in India? The freedom at midnight speech, everybody knows. And we leave it there. We don't bother to critically analyze the speech of a leader because we don't want to do it, right? There's no harm, really. So suppose we were to do a sentiment analysis of Pandit Nehru's freedom speech. How would it go? This map of India, which you can see on my screen, has got all the words that he used in that speech. He used nouns like India, since the speech is about the freedom of India. He used adjectives, long and great, in the context of the struggle and the difficulties that we had as a nation for reaching that independence. He uses adverbs like never, in the context of the resilient attitude and historic win of a nation against its long-term occupiers. Personal pronouns, us, showing the solidarity and unity of the people. He's also got cautious hope. He says may, shall, symbolizing that I hope this happens. So when you do an analysis like this, you're engaging in higher order thinking with the known content. That was an example. We don't really need to wait for the new textbooks to come. We can start doing this with whatever we have. That was a little bit about content. Okay? The next episode, we will fill you in with what are some of the details of pedagogy that the National Education Policy 2020 talks about. But before that, we would like to hear from you, subscribe to our channel, but we would like to hear from you in the comment section. What do you think would be some differences in pedagogical approach that the NEP is calling out? Because you need to know this, because as a teacher, you need to be prepared for that, right? That's the skill you need to have. So therefore, once again, either go back to NEP or listen to others or from your own experience or from the content that we've discussed so far, what do you think would be some hallmarks of pedagogical approach in the new classes of India? Till then, we'll await your comments. Thank you for being with us.